Well, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for a very special Studs Up, brought to you by oddschecker and Sky Bet, because this one is all about the Cheltenham Festival. We're just a few days away now from one of the greatest sporting events there is anywhere in the world. And we've got a cracking lineup of guests who are joining us this week. But as always, I'm joined by my Studs Up strike partner, Charlie Austin, who is no doubt as excited as we all are for Cheltenham. Chaz, how are you? You looking forward to it?
I am. Oh, how are you? I'm good, mate. I am looking forward to it. It's exciting time of the year, isn't it? So hopefully from our two special guests this week, we can pick a few winners.
Yeah, fingers crossed. That's what we're hoping that this podcast can do. Find us some winners. But before we talk racing and Cheltenham, once again, it seems like a weekly thing. QPR back in the winners' circle and in great form.
Hey, unreal. 2-0 against Bristol City. We battered them, to be fair. They kind of pressed us. We passed through the press and scored 2 goals first 20 minutes and killed the game off. And then we had a game that I could only describe against Wycombe last night, which was the coaching horses versus the highwaymen. 10:30 on a Sunday morning would give that game a run for its money last night. Honestly, it was awful. But we got the 3 points. That was the main thing. And we're in the top half of the table. So we've got 3 games before the international break coming up. And look, it's looking good for the R's at the moment.
I saved it from last week because you were fresh from a loss, so I didn't want to rub it in. But I was watching Soccer Saturday or whatever, and you scored a goal 2 weeks ago. And the guy, the pitch side reporter, they cut to him and they said, "Tell us about the goal for Charlie Austin." And he goes, "Yeah, and it was a volley from no yards whatsoever." I mean, it was literally the definition of a tap-in, wasn't it?
Mate, all it said after, mate, was Birmingham 0, QPR 1. Austin scored. Nothing about in off the bar or in off the post, mate. Just 1-0.
No, another goal to the tally.
Mate. Yeah,
well
nice,
done.
Mate. Nice. And we're going all right at the moment. So, like I say, long may it continue.
Good news. Now, tell us, Cheltenham for you, what does it mean to you, Chaz?
It's an exciting time, mate. I know it's completely different this year, but it's an exciting time. The lads get together. We're obviously the talk about it. Oh, who knows what about Cheltenham? You go down the pub and stuff, obviously when you can, and everyone's talking about the Cheltenham Festival. Look, it's an exciting time for everybody. For me, it's an excitement from Tuesday right through to the Friday, and it's nice to be a part of it.
When was your first Cheltenham? Do you remember your first Cheltenham memory?
My grand goes, right? He goes every year, and he took me when I was 18, I think it was. Was I 18? Yeah, it must have been when I was 18. Anyway, it was when Denman won the Gold Cup. Was that 2008?
Something around then, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when I was 18.
Maybe
yeah. So incredible when he won. That was my first Cheltenham proper memory, and it was just what one to be reminded by.
And in one of the earlier Studs Up, you told us this great story about, I think it was last year, wasn't it, when Envoi Allen, when he was racing, you wanted to get to the fence to take a photo of him. Because these are the best horses there are in training, the best of the best.
Mate, I was with the wife, yeah, and so obviously on the Wednesday when we had a couple of pints before, and I said to her, "I'm going down the front to see Envoi Allen come in." She's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to get a photo when he's coming in." She was like, "You're a weirdo, mate." Anyway, there was me taking a photo, and I was walking back all chuffing myself. She's obviously filmed me taking a photo of it, but that's what it meant to me. You just want to see these superstars in action, don't you? And me being a sportsman as well, being involved in professional sport to a certain look, I just love to see him in action.
And we are going to see him in action next week at the Cheltenham Festival, and he's now trained by this week's special guest on Studs Up, a man who has got 9 festival wins to his name. He's got a leading fantasy in the Champion Hurdle, the Gold Cup, to name a few. He's got a host of live chances at Cheltenham. I'm delighted to say that joining us for our Cheltenham special is leading trainer Henry de Bromhead. Henry, thank you for joining us. How are the excitement levels your end?
Yeah, look, it's all good. We're obviously getting pretty maybe possibly stressed out and psyched up for it all, but everything coming together anyhow.
Is it stressful? I mean, I guess it is, but is it very stressful for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, you just want everything to go right. You want to try and get everything there as best as you can. As Charlie said, these are top end athletes, and as any sportsman knows, an injury isn't ever too far away. So you're trying to get them there in one piece and as best as you can.
The preparations, I guess, are pretty much all done now, right? It's just a case of logistically getting them over to England. But are you happy with how the preparations have gone for your horses?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, they all seem good. They're all in good form. They've sort of done their more serious bits of work, and it's just ticking them over now. And as I say, trying to get them there in one piece.
Before we talk about the big runners from your stable this year, I asked Charlie the question about his first and early memories of Cheltenham. What about you? When were the sort of early memories for Cheltenham for you?
I've sort of vague ones of the late 70s, early 80s, but I'd say Dawn Run. She was owned by Charmian Hill from Waterford, and her, when she won the champion hurdle, that was probably a standout one. That I really remember. Yeah, she was an amazing mare, obviously, and then to come back and win the Gold Cup as well.
Chaz, I'm going to ask you first before I ask Henry, but as a footballer and a professional sportsman, are you superstitious? Do you put one sock on before the other or anything like that?
You know, it sounds mental, right? I do everything on my right side first. Right shin pad, right, tape everything up, put the right boot on, then do me left. I don't know, it's stupid.
Have you done that all your career?
I think so, yeah. 31 years old, I've still got superstitions. And then if I don't do something, like it's even to the point, if I'm that other side of my career now, if I'm listening to a certain kind of music before the game, some of the stuff they put on now, they're changing, is awful, mate. So I listen to my own stuff, and if I have a good game, like I continue that. If I have a poor game, that's it, mate. Chuck that straight out the window. Like the music's to blame for me performing badly. Just clutching at straws, mate.
I wonder if, Henry, do you put your sort of right shoe on before you grace the Cheltenham turf?
I can't say I do. I tap my head a lot when I see magpies, but other than that, I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad.
It's a very different year, but in a normal year, would there be certain Cheltenham rituals that you would undertake when you would go to Cheltenham in years gone by?
Not really, no, to be honest. No, I mean, not really. Always try and get there Sunday evening so you can see the horses out Monday morning, and then that's sort of it, really. No, not really. Just
yeah. Are you going to go there Sunday evening this evening? Will you be there Sunday night?
Yeah, absolutely. Going over on Sunday. So obviously, once we get into the track, that's it. You're not allowed to leave. We'll arrive Sunday evening and there for the week.
And final question before we move on to the runners this year. But would you have sort of Cheltenham drinking buddies that you'd always sort of nestle into one in the Arkle bar after a day at the races? That obviously you won't be allowed to do that this year, but would you have a sort of a group of you that you'd always celebrate with?
Do you know what? You'd be so busy. I mean, from sort of 11 o'clock every day, would be down there meeting clients, meeting owners, so you'd be kind of flat out doing that, and then obviously once the racing starts, you'd be getting into your runners and everything. So not really. Always try and catch up with old friends. Yeah, definitely would do that, but probably nothing set in stone. No.
Henry, just a quick one. We're talking about rituals and going and stuff like that. Do you do anything specific? Like, when your runners are out going onto the track before they race, do you go anywhere like on your own? Would you prefer to watch it on your own, or would you like to watch it with the owners or anything like that?
I would. It's funny. I it kind of varies. So when I watched Sizing Europe win the champion chase, I watched a lot of races under that stand on that television, and then we had no winners for years. So that wasn't working. Then when Special Giara won the champion chase, I watched in the parade ring. So I did that for a lot of races. Then when things weren't, so it kind of varies. But yeah, Probably watch a lot of races in the parade ring now. And if that's not working, I'd head down to the track and watch a trackside. I saw Balco de Flo in the Ryanair there with our crew, with our team that were over. And that was very exciting. So it would sort of vary as to where I'm feeling. I'm having a bit of luck.
And just tell us that feeling, because a lot of the time we spent on Studs Up talking to footballers, but for someone in racing to have a winner at the Cheltenham Festival, and you've trained some greats to win there. You've mentioned the Champion Chase, the Ryanair, but just how satisfying and special is that moment?
Oh, it's amazing. You know, it's our Olympics. Obviously, as everyone knows, it's the pinnacle, and it's where anyone that gets into national hunt racing, they want to have a winner. So yeah, it's relief. And it's just joy. It's an amazing feeling. And then bang, you're on to the next race. But it's incredible. Yeah.
And that's the thing about Cheltenham, isn't it? Because it can go one or two ways, isn't it? The first race, and we'll talk about the first race on day one now, the Sky Bet Supreme. Everyone who I speak to in racing, they want to get on the board early. They want to get the monkey off the back for that year, so that the pressure isn't there. Like, have you had a winner yet? And you can just sort of drop the shoulders a bit. And in the Sky Bet Supreme, the first race on day one, you've got one, potentially two runners in it, I think. But Ballyadam looks to be a runner of yours in that race. Is that your thinking, that it will just be Ballyadam in that race? I know Bob Ollinger is still in the race.
Yeah, we're planning to run Irascible and Ballyadam. We're pretty sure Bob Ollinger will go for the Ballymore. We've just left him in, but I think it's highly likely he'll go for the Ballymore. So with Ballyadam, who has some very good form behind, Appreciate It, and so does Irascible. He was second to him at Christmas, only his second run over hurdles, and he wasn't as good. He was fifth behind him when Ballyadam was second in February. But both are in good form, and looking forward to it.
I've got to ask you just at this juncture, because obviously you've received a few of the Cheveley Park horses that were formerly trained by Gordon Elliott. So you haven't, and that happened, a week ago or so that they came to the yard. So you haven't had an awful lot of time to get to know Ballyadam, but I'm assuming that you've done all you can to find out as much about the horses as possible. Have you chatted to Gordon about the training that needed to be done, the feed that the horse likes, how he likes to be ridden and things like that?
Yeah, they arrived down looking great, and Gordon's been really helpful. So yeah, it's obviously not ideal, but they seem good. They've settled in well, and hopefully they'll, it'll all work out.
Did they need much? Was most of their training done in terms of sort of serious work? Was it a case of just ticking them over?
Yeah, very much so. So obviously Quilixios and Ballyadam had run at the Champions Weekend at the Dublin Racing Festival. So, they've run recently enough, and Envoi had run a couple of weeks prior to that. So they've done plenty. And as I say, they look really well, and hopefully everything will go okay.
Henry, just going on about on the Cheveley Park horses coming in, but with all the horses coming, do you have to keep everything the same feed, the same kind of routine that they've obviously gone through? Because I know obviously that's important to the horses, I guess, as well. So Henry, obviously with the horses that you got from Cheveley Park, have you kept things the same? Obviously, like the feed and I get the training situation. Obviously, all the trainers train in their own unique way. Have you had to do much different to what obviously Gordon was doing previously?
Well, we use the same feed as Gordon, so that there's not much change there. And other than that, yeah, we've tried to keep it as similar as possible. But it is obviously a change of yard, so it's not going to be exactly the same. But they seem to have settled in really well, and yeah, hopefully they seem good.
I was speaking to AP McCoy actually on a preview night the other day, and he said a very good analogy. He said it's not like they're leaving the Dorchester to go and live in a tent. They're leaving, one Premier yard to live in another Premier yard. So look, best of luck with Ballyadam. I guess a lot of the attention, Chaz, will be about Appreciate It, who's beaten Ballyadam a couple of times and looks the leading hope of the Irish. But do you think the English novices can serve it up to Appreciate It and Ballyadam?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, mate. I do. Soaring Glory, Betfair hurdle winner, a big improver. Look, his jumping's slick, which obviously needed at Cheltenham, but it beat Brazeman's game off levels, don't forget. And Paul Nicholls reckons this can't be beat. So it goes there with a great chance, no? For me.
Yeah,
For me, I think he's got a great chance if he runs.
I'd agree. Yeah, if he runs, there is a small question whether he does run. But if he runs, he's got a good chance. I think Metier from Harry Fry is a good horse. I think it's a really good Supreme, actually, with Appreciate It. Obviously, the sort of flag bearer at the top of the market for the Irish. But Henry, I'm sure, will be hoping that Ballyadam can do the business in the first race. Then we get on to race 2, which is the Sporting Life Arkle. And Henry, you've trained some great 2-milers. This is a race that is exhilarating to watch.
Yeah, it's a super race, absolutely. Yeah, we were lucky enough to win it with Sizing Europe and put the Kettle on last year. So yeah, look, it's a really good race. There's loads of pace there with Energamine, All Mankind, and even our lad could be handy away, you know. So like it's flat out 2 miles and. We'll see. Our guy, Captain Guinness, is in great form. He's going to improve for the better ground. He's a little bit unfortunate to fall at the second last at Leopardstown when going very well. I know he's got a bit to find with Energamine, but if the ground is, as you'd expect, you know, if it's sort of good to soft, I think that'll suit him really well. And yeah, hoping for a big run from him.
The talk in the media is very much that this is a sort of 2-horse race between Shishkin and Energamine, sort of the English and the Irish stars, if you like, locking horns. But do you think that does a disservice to All Mankind, to Captain Guinness, who are live contenders as well?
Look, I mean, obviously the first two in the betting, Shishkin and Energamine, have been so impressive, you know, throughout. I'm not sure if it does a disservice. I probably have to just speak from my perspective. You know, I kind of focus on my guys. I think our guy, I think he's a good value each way bet in the race. You know, I'm not saying he'll win it, but he's usually a fantastic jumper. He travels really well. I mean, watch the day he won his beginner's chase on sort of reasonably nice ground at Punchestown. I thought he was really impressive that day. So from my perspective, I just think our guy has a real good chance. With regards to the other two, Energamine's done a lot, all his winning on very soft or heavy ground, although he has been very impressive. And obviously Shishkin, you know, his form is savage. So it's going to be a fascinating race, but delighted to have our guy in it.
Chaz, who are you going to be telling the dressing room at QPR to be siding with in the Sporting Life Arkle?
I think Shishkin. I know but you can't not be impressed by what he's done. Do you know what I mean? You can't be. All Mankind, yeah, great, and the Jameen that you've seen, but I just don't think you can turn your nose up at Shishkin. I know he's short, but his form is incredible, and like Henry said, the word savage is not used lightly, shall we say, regarding Shishkin.
Yeah, that's a fascinating. I mean, the first 4 races with the Ultima in between the Arkle and the Champion Hurdle, but the day one is always just the most unbelievable day's racing. I cannot wait for it. And the big race on day one is the Champion Hurdle, where Henry, you train the mighty mare Honeysuckle. What a treat to be training a mare of that quality. How is she, and how has her preparation gone?
Yeah, she seems in great form, as you say. Yeah, look, we feel very lucky to have her. She's an amazing mare, and she's in mighty form. She was really good in the Irish Champion Hurdle, and just ticked her away now, and she seems, touch wood, she seems good for next week.
Henry, would the ground be a concern at all for Honeysuckle? I know it sounds a bit of a bizarre question, but if it's good ground, would that be a bit of concern for her? Would you like more soft in the ground?
Yeah, I presume it'll. I mean, they normally order it to be good to soft, you know. So I think that should be perfect. So like once it's nice festival ground, that'll be perfect for her. I don't think they'd, especially the first day, they're up to water right up to racing, whereas obviously on the Wednesday they can't water the day before. So they usually like to have it sort of spot on. I mean, she won the Irish Champion Hurdle last year on real good ground, in fairness. So she's got plenty of good performances on real good ground, but possibly for her stamina, a little bit more ease would help her. But I don't know, she's got gears as well, like the way she picked up in the Irish Champion Hurdle, although it was on soft ground. She's I don't know, I wouldn't be overly concerned. Probably quite a long answer to your question.
But she's a special mare, so that the special horses go through anything. I think that's the long and short of it. Do you know what I mean? They win on anything.
She's amazing. Yeah, she's just amazing for us. So look, I mean, not that I'd ever be overly confident. We're really happy with her, and hopefully with a bit of luck, we'll just get a good clear run and see how it all pans out.
But this is the thing, because I think you're right. You're not one to sort of shout from the rafters about your horses all the time. But I remember interviewing Kenny Alexander, the owner of Honeysuckle, before she won the Irish Champion, and he said that the vibes were really positive. And what we saw from her that day was just exceptional. One thing that really impressed me, Henry, was her sort of athleticism from A to B over her hurdles. I thought she hurdled exceptionally well that day. Have you done a lot of work with her hurdling, or is that just sort of natural learning?
I think it's sort of, she's just, as she, like, again, she's only, she's still a young mare. She's only 7. She feels like she's been around a long time, and she's achieved so much. She obviously came from point to pointing, so I think it's just taken her a while to get a bit lower. But yeah, as you say, she jumped brilliant the last day, and I didn't think she jumped that bad in the Irish Champion Hurdle last year either, to be honest, bar the last where she just got it all wrong. But look, I don't know. I don't see too many chinks. It's just, we'll see, we'll see how we get on. We need a bit of luck. And like I say, we'll all see from there.
You might not have too many chinks in your armour, but you've got some pretty tough nuts to crack in terms of Epatante, the defending champion, and Goshen as well. How do you see the race unfolding? Because a lot of people are tipping Honeysuckle based on the fact that her stamina is going to kick into effect. Is that going to prove, do you think, to be her biggest asset on the day?
Oh, look, we'll see. And like I say, that or as you said, like, we've got a lot of tough nuts to crack. By saying I don't see many chinks in our armor, that's absolutely, I don't mean, I wouldn't like to knock anyone else's horse. It's a savage race, and well, we know we've like the level of horses there to beat. Stamina, possibly. Look, she jumps and she travels, so we'll see. Rachel and I haven't really got into that as yet. But we also have Aspartar in the race. He was brilliant at Christmas. He ran really well. He's only a 5-year-old like Goshen. He never really turned up at the Triumph Hurdle last year, so you guys haven't really seen him. He's a very good horse as well. And possibly Jason the Militant in the race, who was very impressive in the Red Mills Hurdle the other day. How the race will unfold, I mean, that's probably more Rachel's department than mine. So we'll see near the time.
I heard Lester Piggott. There was a quote. He said, "If you're a good jockey, you don't need any instructions. You don't need any instructions, and if you're a bad jockey, you can't carry them out. So there's no point telling them." Are you a trainer that gives many instructions to Rachel?
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to get out of the habit of it. I'm probably a bit of a control freak, and so I probably, I wouldn't think I'm the easiest person to ride for, but I'm trying to get more and more relaxed. It's like Rachel's so good. I just need to teach myself to leave it to her, and I'm sure she just ignores anything stupid I say, anyhow, in fairness to her.
Chaz, did you have any managers that would always be in your ear telling you what to do, and you're like, just shut up, I know what I'm doing?
Yeah, mate. It's almost like the saying is, "Don't teach me how to suck eggs." I think
Yeah.
that's the saying for it. Do you know what I mean? Listen, I get the man management, the tactical side of it, but when I'm in the box, just let me do my thing. It's probably Rachel gets on the horse. She's like, Henry, just let me. I'm in control now. You've done all you can. Now it's up to me.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it's like for every footballer when they go across the white line. I think it'd be Henry does all the stuff at the yard and all that kind of stuff. At the moment, it comes to match day and race day. As soon as the jockey's got the horse in his or her hands, and the baton's been passed over.
Barry Garrity was writing for me years ago, and anyhow, I was going on and on, giving the instructions and blah blah blah. And he looked at me and said, "Henry, I've done this before, you know." And then he was walking out of the ring. He was walking out of the ring, and I walked over and I said, "Oh, one more thing, Barry." And he sort of pretended he had a pen and pad, and as if he was going to write down my last little nugget. Anyhow, he duly won, and he ignored. He didn't need any of my help.
That is tremendous. Learning that you're a bit of a box walker, perhaps, standing in your lucky spots. But just in all seriousness, a word on Rachel, because she is just a phenomenal jockey, isn't she? I mean, she's going to, I hope, take Cheltenham by storm next week. But just how good do you think she is?
Oh, she's brilliant. She's a brilliant rider, and we just feel very lucky to have her. She's great to work with, a great horsewoman, and like I say, just delighted to be able to have her on our team.
Chaz, go on then. Are we all on the Henry de Bromhead Honeysuckle camp for the champion hurdle? I certainly am. I think she's one of the best bets of the week. What about you?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely go straight up to the joint top with one we will come on after. But one thing what I'm going to take away from it, Aspire Tower, Henry said, didn't really turn up in the Triumph. But it comes second, beat All Mankind half a length, and the trainer said it didn't really turn up.
Yeah,
I'm thinking it's got to be him.
Not to sort of pop that balloon, but Goshen would have won by about 50 lengths if he didn't come down.
But he did. Same. My old chap. Well, that's what I mean. But he didn't. He come down at the last. Tough shit.
Yeah. The champion hurdle is a brilliant race. Also on day one, you've got Plan of Attack entered in the Close Brothers. Manila Melody in the mares. Is she going to run?
Manila Melody, she'll run. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm just amazed at her price. She's 20 to 1. The only problem for her is Concertista, but in fairness, she look a great each way value bets in the race, in my opinion. Anyhow, she's in great form. She's finished second to Concertista twice, but only beaten a couple of lengths, so I think she'll be bang there.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the price when I saw her. I think that's definitely one for the listeners to sort of bear in mind at a decent price on day one. Let's move on to day two. And I know that I should go to you first, Henry, about Bob Ollinger in the Ballymore, the first race on day two. But Charlie has been badgering me about this horse for time, and he absolutely adores Bob Ollinger. Is this your nap of the festival, Mr. Austin?
It is the nap of the festival for me, mate. It certainly is. I just don't think you can go against him. I really don't. I just think he just shows everything. In his last run, it was just it's 6.5 lengths. He bolted up. Like, it just showed everything what you wanted to see in a horse. And for me, going into Cheltenham, it'd be certainly one to get day two off to a flying start for punters, especially Mr. C. Austin
and Mr. H. de Bromhead on day two. Is he mad for napping Bob Ollinger, Henry, or do you think he's a good thing?
I have to admit, having not listened to this great podcast before, I'm just hoping Charlie's a very good man with his naps. But yeah.
I'm sorry to report, Henry.
Sorry. I could have stopped there.
Okay, fair enough. Look, he's done very little wrong. I ran him against Fernie Hollow the first day, thinking we'd beat him, but anyway, we got beaten, so I was a bit disappointed. But yeah, he's a horse we've always thought a lot of since we bought him after he won his point to point. He's progressing all the time, and yeah, we're really happy with him. He's working well. As Charlie said, he was impressive in the Lawlers novice hurdle at Naas. Yeah, fingers crossed all will go well for him, and we'll see.
Jamie Codd on a preview described him as a God-given certainty, which heaps the pressure on your shoulders even more, because he tipped LeBacon a massive price a few years ago. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of punters siding with Bob Ollinger. But AP, the one, again, from speaking to AP on a preview about this horse, he said that he's got plenty of speed, it seems. So if you were to drop him back in trip, and obviously you've thought about the Supreme, or it's on the table to an extent, whereas the other horses that are taking you on Brave Man's Game and Gaillard de Mesnil, they look like horses that perhaps might appreciate further. Do you think that actually his speed will be the asset that wins in the Ballymore? Does he show a lot of speed at home?
Yeah, he has. He's got a lot of pace, funnily enough. That's why I started him off over 2. And it took a bit of persuading to get me to go up to 2.5, to be honest. Right. But yeah, he's got a bit of pace, and we'll see how it all unfolds. Again, that's kind of more Rachel's department, and see what way the pace is like and whatever. But he's got a gear, and yeah, so hopefully that he'll be able to use it.
Not that we can, Chaz, but what do you reckon? Because I know that Henry just said it's Rachel's department. Given what he said earlier, I'd love to get an insight into Henry's meticulous planning in the huddle before the race. Could
you imagine Henry de Bromhead mic'd up before Honeysuckle runs, before Bob Ollinger runs? You know what I mean? Could you imagine just the last little bit?
When the left foot goes there, I need you to tighten the rein here. With meticulous planning. I love it. Good luck with Bob Ollinger. In the second race on day 2, Eclat de Rire taking on Monkfish. Eclat de Rire is trained by you. Monkfish is all the rage. Everyone's sort of napping him up and down the land and in Ireland, I'm sure. But I actually read something from you a few days ago, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I read it and I thought he thinks he could beat Monkfish. Is that true?
I mean, our lad's a very nice horse. Obviously, Monkfish has been hugely impressive. I probably go into every race thinking I can win it. You're a sportsman, So like, that's not to say I disrespect anything I'm up against. Monkfish is hugely impressive. It'd be really hard to beat, but it's a horse race, and look, our lad jumps well, he stays well. I wouldn't be sending him over if I didn't think I could win it. But, I could get a rude awakening. As I said to someone earlier on, this is a pretty turbulent week. You're running all your best horses, and there's a lot of ups and downs, So, but, I wouldn't run anything unless I thought we could win the race, So, but I could be dreaming, But we like our lad, I mean, you're seeing what I'm seeing. It's not like he's doing some amazing thing at home. That's his form is. I'm just going. He's a lovely 3-mile chaser, and we'll take our chance and see how we go. I'm certainly not going. We're definitely going to beat Monkfish. Certainly not. No, but it's a horse race, and we'll take our chance.
That's the thing, Chaz, about sports people, like in Henry's position as a trainer in competitive environments, and for you as a footballer, I guess, don't take this analogy literally, but say you're playing for West Brom against Man City, who have won 20 games in a row, and you're there going, yeah, we can beat them. And I always hear these press conferences and stuff, and it always surprises me. Well, it doesn't surprise me when they say that, but you kind of have to have that belief, don't you? I guess
you have to have that belief, mate, because if you don't, why Henry wouldn't enter the horses? Do you know what I mean? He has belief in his own horse racing ability, like what he's seeing at home. So I think, look, when it comes to the football side of it, it's almost like, listen, there's 2 teams up against each other. Same with, listen, the jumping's a game in the racing. They've got to jump the fences, and Henry fancies his horse to go well on the day. We all seen what Monkfish can do. who knows? It looks like it's going to be an exciting race.
Then the big race on day 2 is the Champion Chase, and Henry, you've got a horse who will become only the 3rd mare, I think, to run in the Champion Chase. Put the Kettle on last year's Arkle winner, and you're taking on another short price favourite in the form of Chacun Pour Soi. Before we touch on Chacun Pour Soi, how is Put the Kettle on?
Yeah, she's super. We also have Notebook in the race, who's a bit
Of course,
disappointing
yes.
in the Arkle last year, but he's in great form. No, the mare is super. Look, there was obviously the option of the mare's chase as well, but we just said, she loves it around Cheltenham, and the Arkle winners have such a good record in the Champion Chase. Everyone was keen to give it a go, so we'll give it a lash and see how she gets on. She's in mighty form, and as I say, she loves it over there.
I just want
Notebook's in great form. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to prove to you that I have done notes on every one of your runners, so forgive me for forgetting Notebook. That was the one that didn't make it into my notebook, unfortunately. But how is the horse? Sorry.
That's fine. He's in great form. As I say, he was favourite for the Arkle last year. He was obviously disappointing on the day, but he's coming there one run less this season, which I think will help him. And we'll see. But obviously the mare has the form around there on that track, on the old course. And as I say, I'd say a lot of it was the record that the Arkle winners have such a good, it's a crazy stat for the Champion Chase. So that was a lot to do with it. And again, she was very good in the slower as well.
Yeah, Chaz, we've talked a lot about Chacun Pour Soi there. You love this horse, don't you?
Yeah, I just think that's a day 2 double for me. Bob Ollinger and Chacun Pour Soi. It's just the way he goes. He ain't run at Cheltenham, but it doesn't. I don't think for me it will matter. I just think it will run them into the ground. I really do.
He has looked phenomenal.
Sorry, anything I've seen, we've tried different things at Leopardstown with him. I thought at Christmas, we sat beside him, and I thought he might have been started to sort of fade a little bit at the end. So we said we'd make much more use of Notebook the next time and use his jumping and everything. And he sort of beat us even easier. So I would agree. He looks, very hard to beat. Yeah.
And there was this amazing shot, actually. I think Paul Townend or maybe Rachel, one of them had the jockey camera on them in that race. And it was like everything else just went from sort of being in cruise control a bit to just being in real trouble. And he looked like he'd just sort of strolled into the race, Chacun Pour Soi. He seems to do everything so easy. It looks that way, Henry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he's been really impressive this year. And I think he's going to be very hard to beat. I suppose we have to hope that, most of it's been, even it was probably nice-ish ground at Christmas, to be fair. So I was going to say, I was hoping that maybe on better ground it might not.
But Cheltenham might be Cheltenham could be the thing, couldn't it?
Who knows? Otherwise, he'll just win, and he's a very, very good horse. Yeah.
Then we move on to day 3, and kicking it off is the Marsh, and one of the big bankers for many is Envoi Allen. And we sort of touched on it a bit, I guess, with Ballyadam and the moving from Gordon Elliott. But again, I suppose, how's his preparation gone since he's been at the de Bromhead stable?
Yeah, he's settled in really well. He's a gorgeous horse. He takes everything in. He's got great presence. He really is gorgeous. We brought him to the beach yesterday. He loved that.
Magic.
We're trying to keep. Yeah, we're trying. He jumped today. Just school this morning. Jumped really well. We're just trying to tick him over. He looks fit, and Gordon sort of said he thought he had him where he wanted to have him. So we're just ticking him over, and hope we get him there in top form.
I suppose it would be in football terms, Chaz, a bit like Lionel Messi walking into the QPR dressing room. But I guess you just know someone's just a cut above the rest. Henry, when he came into the yard, can you just tell instantly that he's got the X factor as a horse?
It's I suppose it's a lot easier when it's a horse that's 11 for 11 and such a good horse, when it. But in fairness, he has a lot of presence. In fairness to him, now. Yeah, so I mean, he looked he's got, like I say, a lot of presence.
And what do they do?
Yeah.
Sorry, just no, Chaz. I just wanted to know before you ask Henry the question, just what they do on the beach. Is it literally just to stretch their legs and just have a bit of a freshen up?
There's a lovely beach near. It's about 20 minutes away, Woodstown. We've used it for years, and they love it. You know, it's about half a mile, and we just hack up and down it a few times and walk them in the water, and they just love it. They their eyes are on stalks the whole time when they're first there, and he seemed to really enjoy it. Yeah.
Is that something you do with all your horses, Henry? Just to switch them off as such, just to try things differently. Obviously, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. Do you know what I mean? Just to change, have a little mix up, and kind of think, oh, a day out at the beach. Do you know what I mean? And they go and enjoy themselves. Really.
Yeah. With jumpers, you know, I suppose. I think, you know, you're trying to you're trying to prolong their careers and keep them interested, and some of them can get a bit bored and whatever. So yeah, spin to the beach. We'd go once a week, and they love it. They do. They love it. It's a lovely change for them.
The form suggests that he's going to take an awful lot of beating. I appreciate it's a sensitive subject, given that they were at Gordon's and now with you. I just want to know. I was trying to think of a sort of football analogy for it, and I just wanted to know how you will feel having a Cheltenham winner if Envoi Allen does win, given the story behind it. And I suppose that for you, Charlie, if you were on loan, say, and you scored against your club in a match, I don't know whether that would be a similar feeling. But Henry, how do you think you will feel if if you're leading Envoi Allen into the winners' enclosure? Have you allowed yourself to think like that?
I haven't, to be honest. That would be a bit too much for me. I haven't, and I don't really. I wouldn't really. I mean, all I could say is the horses came down looking amazing from Gordon's, and we'll have had them for 2 weeks. So I think it's, we're hoping even Janine, that looks after him, will be involved on the day. She's already been down to see him, and we're hoping that she'll be involved as well.
That's wicked. So that's the girl that looked after him. The girl that looked after him at Gordon's is going to be involved.
Yes, she'll be there, I think, and we're hoping that she'll be able to be involved as much as she can. And as I say, they'll have been with us for 2 weeks, so I'm not sure. Amazing. I haven't let myself think, but Gordon and his team have done all the vast majority of the work. So
that's a nice touch, really good touch.
Yeah. Ollie, I asked you that. I asked you that earlier in the week, didn't I? Just to ask about the stable lass, etc. And I think for everybody that is very nice to hear.
Yeah, that is, and her tweets, from back along about her with the horse and stuff. It's lovely to see her relationship with that horse. So yeah, great to hear that, Henry. Good luck with Envoi Allen in the Marsh. In the Ryanair, Chris's Dream, is he going to run in that, Henry?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's in good form. He had a great run in the good chase up the north. He was just chinned by the storyteller, and then he was disappointing. We sort of took Min on in the John Dirk, and I think we got our tactics wrong, or I got our tactics wrong, and so I'd say we will. Yeah, I think he could. He's in good form. I hope he'll run well. He's a horse that runs very well fresh. Obviously, it's a very good race, but again, be hoping we might hit the frame.
And the big race, Chaz, on day 3 is the Stayers Hurdle, and I think this is a fascinating matchup between Paisley Park, Thyme Hill. You've got last year's winner Liz Nagar-Oscar in it. Do you have a strong view in that race, Chaz?
Yeah, I have a strong view, but I have a side thing I said the other week about Thyme Hill. I had the opportunity to buy Thyme Hill off Brian Murphy from the Dunraven Arms. Offered this Thyme Hill, and a good friend. Yes, a good friend of mine, still a good friend of mine. Fortunately, he decided against it. We went with another horse instead of Thyme Hill, so we could have owned that.
No
What a
way.
disaster.
Will
What a
you be
disaster.
cheering him on or hoping he doesn't win because of that?
No, that boat sailed. I hope he wins.
Yeah.
You got to. I hope he wins. I do.
Were there
hope he
any
wins.
any ones that got away in your world, Henry? I'm sure there have been plenty, but any famous cases like that?
Oh yeah, I actually can't think of any, but yeah, so
Yeah.
many. I just can't
So
think.
many.
So many.
I suppose it's probably common.
Yeah, but I'd say, Charlie, Brian has no bother reminding you of this quite a lot, has he? Of you missing time out.
It gets led through another source, Henry, straight back to me. Yes, it does.
Really? Yeah.
Yes, it certainly does. And I'll be going to Brian again, but next time I pray to God I get to another Time Hill.
Oh, no. Yeah.
That's magic. Well, good luck to Time Hill's current connections. They could have been you, Charlie.
The best one for me was, now that I've thought about it, was Altior. Heather, my wife, who would help buy at the store sales, at any sales. She's a great judge and she helps buy all our horses. She apparently brought me down to see Altior 4 times, and I kept saying, no, I can't buy a horse out of a Key of Luck mare. And anyhow, I don't remember any of this, and I'm not sure she does. But Mick Carthy, who's a very clever, very shrewd man, and a great judge of a horse, who sold Altior, he very kindly told Heather that she brought me down 4 times to see this horse. So I've never, ever heard the end of it.
I was going to
say,
I'm
not surprised.
I was going to say what's discussed over the breakfast table, but it's probably the better half saying, "What have you done, Henry?" We could have had that.
Yeah.
That's gold. Wow, I didn't know that. I never knew that. That's amazing. Right, the final day.
I don't know if it was Mick being very clever.
Well, to be honest, I think I'm going to probably have to remind you of that as well. You never know. Altior might be winning at this year's festival. He's up in the champion chase, isn't he, against your horse? Put the Kettle on. That will twist the knife a bit more as well if Altior chins Put the Kettle on or Notebook in the champion chase. I'll steer clear of the cat that day. Day 4 is the Gold Cup day, and it's sponsored by Wellchild this year, supporting a great local charity. But it kicks off with the Triumph Hurdle, and Quilixios, a decision's been made. Quilixios goes Triumph Hurdle. How is that horse?
Yeah, he's good. Again, another gorgeous horse. Rachel schooled him this morning. He jumped really well. Obviously, Jack has the choice, but we're sort of presuming, I haven't confirmed anything with him yet, but we're presuming he'll ride Zanahiyr. So Rachel schooled Quilixios this morning, and delighted with him. He jumped brilliant, and again he ran it early February. He looks fit, he looks really well, and again just ticking over, try and get him there as best as we can.
And then the Gold Cup, the big race on the Friday, the blue ribbon event of the week, the Wellchild Gold Cup. You've got 2 in the race, A Plutard and Minella Indu. How are they, and how do you assess their chances, Henry?
Yeah, both seem really well. A Plutard won the Savills Chase at Christmas, which looked a really good race on paper beforehand, and I think it was run that way. I think it's fair to say it's certainly, in my opinion, one of the best trials for the Gold Cup. And he was really good. He stayed at it really well. He had the class to beat Chacun Poursois over 2 miles last year. He's just a very classy horse, so delighted with him. And then Indo had a great start to his season. Obviously fell in the Savills, which was very disappointing. First run out of sort of his novice company. The plan was never really to go to the Irish Gold Cup, but once we'd fallen, we felt we had to. And we went there for, our most important objective was to get a nice clear round, which we did. Unfortunately, made a little mistake at the second last. He's the type of fella I think needs to be ridden forward. and he loves Cheltenham. He comes alive there. He's wicked laid back here, so it's like he's going off on his holidays when he goes to Cheltenham. He loves that, and Champ beat him a half a length or something, so his form is right there. If Champ can win it, so can we. Very happy with both of them. Very lucky to have both of them, and fingers crossed for good runs.
Do you know who's going to ride Manila Indo? Has that been announced?
Jack Kennedy.
Right.
Jack Kennedy. Yeah, he schooled him and everything. Yeah, so he's riding him.
Cool. I know we've done stuff on the opening show in and around the stable yards. Obviously, we won't be able to do that this year. But is Manila Indo the horse that used to come over with a goat, or am I thinking of a different horse?
No, that was Monolith. Yeah,
Monolith. That's right. Same owner. Sorry.
Yeah. Same owners, exactly.
Is the goat still around on the yard? Harvey, I think the goat.
Yeah. Harvey, that's right. Yeah. He's around. He's looking really well, nearly a bit too well. He was in my bad books the other day. He went and rammed one of our riders' cars the other day. So that cost me 250 quid to get the wing repaired. So but he's great. He's great. He's a real character.
Magic. Chaz, who do you fancy in the Gold Cup?
If the rain comes, I just think Native River is hell of a price. I just think hell of a price if the rain comes. But if Album Photo goes and wins the race, it's three Gold Cups, and I think a lot of punters will be thinking, how and why haven't we followed this horse? Do you know what I mean? I think how it's almost been the forgotten horse, if that makes sense, without it being not forgotten. It's won 2 Gold Cups, and it's almost like no one's really speaking about him because he's not out there as much. So look, I'd like Native River to win if the rain comes, for sure.
Well, after this recording, I'd like Henry to win every big race because he's been an absolute gentleman. I'm going to ask you in a moment for your well, how do we say it? Your strongest fancy from your runners at the Cheltenham Festival. But before we do that, as this is a podcast that marries the world of football and racing, I want to know, before you go, Henry, whether you were a talented footballer in your youth. Did you ever play football? Do you support a football team? Is football something on your radar?
I'm funny enough, I've always supported Spurs for some reason. Well, I know my uncle was a big Spurs fan, so I seem to inherit that from him. And no, I was a very poor footballer, but playing a lot with the kids there now. So I think, I'm making a bit of a comeback. So maybe if I put my mind to it more when I was younger, I would have been a bit better.
That's tremendous. Have you had many footballers' own horses in the yard during the years?
That's a good question. Over the years, have we? I'm probably going to really offend. Yeah, John O'Shea's involved in a syndicate he's only just got involved in a syndicate with us, and I'm going to think of someone afterwards. I apologise if I can't think of it.
You've got about 1,000 owners, so I'm sure we can putting you on the spot like that. We can let you on.
Yeah.
Chaz, do you know what I think we should do? Because hearing that, like, I've just ever since he mentioned that beach setting with the horses stretching their legs and going on a hack, like I've just had this beautiful image in my head of, these great national hunt horses training on the beach in Ireland.
I know you're coming up with something stupid?
I'm not. What I want to do, obviously we have to ask Henry and everyone in the yard, but we could take Studs Up on tour and we could go to Ireland and we could record a special next season or something from the beach there, and then you can give Henry's kids some football tips in return for us being allowed to go and watch the horses on the beach. It sounds utterly amazing, that image. How do you think that would go down, Chaz?
That'd be brilliant, mate. It really would. Although I would be game for that. I'll give the football coach. However, I would like to hear Henry's last little chats just to Rachel before she gets up on that before she leaves the parade ring. And I'd like to know Rachel's responses as well. That'd be that'd be a good one also.
Yeah, you want to get Rachel on it. Sure. Yeah, no, we'd love you over here. You're welcome anytime. I have to say, Woodstown, on a sunny morning, watching the horses walk through the tide afterwards, it's stunning. So you should definitely come over.
For sure.
It sounds
if you bought a
absolutely
horse,
amazing.
Ollie, if you bought a horse, Ollie, you could come over and do it as well.
Yes, Henry. Yes.
Did you know what? There's something about
horse.
Yeah. Well, do you know what?
There you go.
I think the bosses are listening into this, so perhaps they could dig into the very small budget that we've got for this, and maybe we could afford the hair of a horse. Do you know what though? It does sound amazing. I'd absolutely love to come there. I'm sure it's just the most beautiful scenery, and as we know, you train some incredible horses and you do a brilliant job at it. But as we are hopefully trying to point the way of our listeners into the way of some winners, easy for me to say, who is your best fancy at Cheltenham then from your string, Henry?
I just wouldn't anchor any of them with it, I'm afraid. Sadly, I just wouldn't. Whatever I say won't. So all I can say is everything we run, everything I run, I think has a squeak, as you can probably tell. So no, I'm just not going to anchor any of them with that.
Are there any handicappers that you think could run well? We haven't really touched on the handicappers.
Yeah, we've a couple of nice handicappers there. We've got Plan of Attack. He was 4th in the Kinmure last year. He'll run in the Kinmure again. His form, he hasn't been as good this year, but I think a bit better ground. He's probably a couple of pounds lower than he was last year. We're going to put blinkers on him to sharpen him up. He'd have a squeak. Champagne Golds. He's a nice horse. He'll either run in the County or the Martin Pipe. So he'd have a squeak as well. There's a few there with chances, absolutely.
Chaz, do you get a goal bonus? Do those things exist still? Or an appearance fee? Work with me on this one.
Yeah. The appearance fee at QPR all goes into a win bonus, which I think is miles better than individual appearance bonus. So it goes into a big pot. And then every home game, away game, etc., you win games, then obviously you get your share of the prize money, should we say? All
right. So if QPR keep winning, can we put that share into the studs up horse and have it with Henry de Bromhead? Can we? Is that fair?
When the bosses come on, we'll definitely have this discussion for sure.
Do you know what?
We'll be going to the beach. Studs up. We'll be going to the beach. And we're watching our horse on the beach, my friend.
That would be magic. We've hopefully got some winners there for the listeners. Henry, I think you've got a horse out of this somehow. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us. And we wish you all the best at Cheltenham next week. You're a top man for coming on. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Henry.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks very much. Best of luck next week.
So that is half time on Studs Up, and what a fascinating insight we got there from Henry de Bromhead. But as half time whistle has been blown, it means it's time now for the latest Charlie Austin rant. What have you got for us, Chaz?
This week is all about Alexander Lacazette screaming. Pathetic, wasn't it? There's no need for it. Makes it even more because there's no fans in the stadium and stuff. Don't get me wrong, it goes on in football, but we don't want to hear it, do we? Let's be honest. Full-grown man screaming like that is ridiculous. I think it just makes the football side of it a laughing stock, really. What's he doing? Then he gets up and continues. Stupid, man. I really don't get it. It kind of puts a sour taste to many people watching.
When you're playing in games like that and you get players play acting or diving or, going over the top, what are you guys thinking?
You know that they're playing, you know they're doing whatever they are to win a free kick. I do understand that, but it's so frustrating when it's when you're trying to do it, it's the best thing ever, or someone in your team. But when it's someone else doing it and it's over the top, or even if it is someone in your team doing it, sometimes it's embarrassing. You're like, what are you doing, mate? I mean, it's too obvious. But I just don't like the way he was doing it. It was stupid.
Got taken the mick out of on Match of the Day as well. That's when you know things are bad. But what are your thoughts on diving?
The thing is, now it's been taken out. You can't really do it now because obviously VAR, and if you don't, obviously that's it. But you can be punished, can't you? If the referee gives something and you get seen diving on the TV afterwards, and you get like a 2 or 3 game ban, retrospective ban because of it. So it is in the game, but with VAR in it, it's not possible for you to do it. To win clever fouls is one way I like to say it now. Well, especially when the ball's coming up to the front man, and his defenders come flying in behind. Just you can anticipate the foul.
Let's talk about the latest football news. Champions League, Juventus are out, so we won't see Ronaldo in the next round. But Dortmund roll on, and Erling Haaland, 20 goals in 14 games, youngest player to do that in the Champions League. I mean, sum up just how much of a talent you think this guy is.
He's going to go on to be a superstar, isn't he? And Ronaldo, like you say, Ronaldo is out, and Messi, as we record this, obviously on Wednesday, will know this evening that whether his fate, but he's got an uphill task, hasn't he, against PSG? So them two could be out, and you just think Mbappe and Haaland are now going to push on and take the mantle as such, and go. Both of them will be future Ballon d'Or winners. But I speak to Stefan Johansson a lot at the changing room at QPR regarding Haaland. He just said, look, he's a special talent, and he's a guy that has it all, really. And you kind of knew from day one, as soon as he come into the Norwegian setup, you just knew he was going to be a phenomenal player.
There's his cousin, I read, is smashing in goals as well. He's younger, and for, I think, Mulder, is it? He apparently the whole family's just, it's in the genes. Mate,
it's in the genes, and they're having off. But I'd love him to come to England. Big, powerful centre forward. What would be nice if Dortmund got an English team next round, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? Just to see him up against an English team's back four or back three as such. But for me, you just 20 goals, 14 games. That's ridiculous numbers. It really is.
Do you think he'd do well in the Premier League?
Yeah, he's built for the Premier League. I personally think he's built for the Premier League. 6'3", 6'4", left and right foot, ultimate speed, power. Just think he would be an unstoppable force if he comes, and whoever gets him will take their team certainly to the next 2-3 levels. And that's not only in English football, that is in Champions League football also.
The other news, I guess, is the relegation fight in the Premier League is probably going to go down to the wire, but that is a massive win for Fulham at Anfield.
Massive, and they almost got the bit between their teeth now, where when games are losing, you don't want them to come. Where they're winning games, you just can't wait for the next one, because there's so much good positive energy at the football club, in between the players, the coaching staff, everybody involved in the football club. And I know we spoke to John Joe Shelby 2 weeks ago regarding the situation, but that game coming up, Fulham v Newcastle, last game of the season, it's going to be incredible. It looks like it's be a spicy one. Hopefully it's whoever wins stays up, so it has a little bit more of an edge to the game. But at the moment, Fulham look like they're going to get out of the mess.
Yeah. Should we get back on the racing train, so to speak? Because we've got another special guest lined up on this Cheltenham Festival special edition of Studs Up. And the guy we've got waiting in the wings, Chaz, is a phenomenal jockey, but he's also now a film star, would you believe?
That's incredible, mate. Oh, incredible.
I know. But you've been... We'll introduce... Daryl Jacob is on the podcast with us. Daryl, how are you?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. All right?
The superstar, Daryl. The film star, Daryl Jacob. We'll talk to you about your Cheltenham rides in a moment. But Charlie, you've been calling for a documentary such as the one that Daryl features on for a long time, haven't you?
I have, and I've got some questions obviously to ask you, Daryl, regarding that. But
this could be a nervous one.
No. It's just so I'm
very worried.
It's just the insight. No, nothing to worry about. Honestly, it's just the insight. I think as spectators of the sport and someone that's very interested, punters, whatever you are, I just think you want to see the other side of the jockey. It's all right seeing him at the racetrack, etc., but you want to see the day-to-day stuff they actually go through. Yes, it's injuries are part of it, and unfortunately, you've had the fair share of them, but that is part of what you put yourself through. What you do, you've just explained to me what your week leading up to Cheltenham is, and it's an incredible amount of driving and travelling you have to do to go to 2 different lots, to 2 different training yards to do riding out, etc. Look, it's just a great insight, I think, that you're allowing people outside of the racing world, as well as inside it, but what the jockeys have to do to put themselves in the best possible shape for races.
I'll just, Daz, before you, because Charlie and I both have loads of questions on this, but just to let people know who are listening to this, it's called Being a Jockey, and it's on the ITV Hub, and it's, for those that don't know, essentially a sort of year in your life behind the scenes at the races, and it's just I've watched it. I think it's absolutely brilliantly made. It's a fascinating insight into what goes on to be a jockey at the top level. But Daryl, in your words, just explain what viewers of being a jockey will get to see when they tune into the documentary.
Well, obviously, it all started out by obviously I'm sponsored by Sky Bet, and quite early in the season, obviously I got a couple of nasty falls and I got a couple of kicks and all that to the face, and I ended up breaking my hand and stuff like that, and they just kind of wanted to come around and do, a bit of film and watch the recovery and how we get back and stuff like that, and so it sort of really just started out from there. And the doctors and all that gave me an estimate time of a couple of months to get back, but I managed to get back in 4 weeks. I think it was 3.5, 4 weeks from my injuries, and they were fascinated how driven I was to get back as quick as I could to get back and riding these horses. And my first ride back was a winner on Dragon Destreval at Ludlow, and sort of from there really it just sort of just kept going and just kept filming. I kind of led it up to obviously to Cheltenham.
It is some of the stuff that you went through and have been through in your career is absolutely brutal, but you get to see, for those that don't know, just the intensity, I guess, of being a jockey, being away from your family. You've got a beautiful family, and you don't get to spend as much time, I'm sure, as you'd like with them because you're on the road a lot, and then obviously recovering from injury and stuff. But what do you think is, of all those elements, what do you think is the hardest part of being a jockey, would you say?
Probably the hardest part is obviously because, as you know, Ollie, I'm quite tall, I'm quite heavy, so for me personally, I probably think is the weight management, keep my weight to an absolute minimum. My brothers and stuff like that, they're quite a lot heavier. Like they're they played professional rugby and stuff like that. So I'm all the time trying to keep my weight about 2 stone under what my natural body weight would be. So that's obviously a challenge in itself. But to sort of maintain that and have the discipline of keeping your weight under control, 12 months of the year. And also the driving, as jockeys, we have to get out there. We've got a lot of meetings we got to go to. There's a lot of driving. You're a lot of time on the road. So I think the hours that you put into driving to the races and from the racing is can be mentally can be quite tough because if you go the whole way, like last week I went up to Ayr. I had 2 seconds. I got beaten in nose and I got beaten 2 lengths, and I spent 7.5 hours getting to Ayr and then another 8 hours coming home in the car, and it's a lot of time on your own to be thinking about a lot of ifs and buts, and if I had done this during the race, could I have turned that nose into a nose win? And so it's there's a lot of mental issues there as well as obviously driving and obviously the hunger factor and trying to keep your weight at a minimum all the time for 7 days a week.
Is that like, if you're looking at what's been filmed in the 12 months now, what are you thinking that the viewers will learn most about you, and obviously what you do, the drive and your determination to keep your nutrition the way it is? Because like you say, everybody is known, everybody knows about how much weight jockeys has to be, like a certain weight, but how much dedication actually goes in from someone like yourself and for obviously the rest of the jockey crew.
Yeah, like I say, it's sort of our biggest thing is like every day it's making weights. We have to make weights every day at the races. So, you've got to be very, very disciplined. And if you have light weight, you've got to be very, very disciplined in it. It's a little bit about that, but it's a little bit like a lot of people, they go to Royal Ascot, they go to Cheltenham Festival, they go to, to the Aintree, to the Grand National. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, behind closed doors, getting up at 5:30 in the morning, you've got to drive an hour and a half to go riding out, from there, you got to go to the races and then you're back. And, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, behind closed doors. And also there's sometimes that you can go racing for one ride up the Sedgefield or whatever, and you'd end up, you spend half the day in the car going up and half the day coming back, and you actually don't make any money out of it. So, that's another side of it as well, isn't it?
That's what I mean. And I think that's what I've been crying out for. I think everybody, spectators, punters, whatever you are, your affiliation with racing, I think you need to see that other side, and I think it's going to be a great program and a great watch. And I am looking forward to watching it. But going on to Cheltenham, how much are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, look, obviously it's our Olympics, isn't it? Really, I love the 4 days at the Cheltenham Festival. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of buzz. Obviously, this year's going to be a little bit different, but we get to see the best of the English, the best of the Irish, clashing heads against each other, and it's a fantastic 4 days.
The point you made there about it being a different festival, Daz, is interesting, because actually in the documentary they touch on one of this, probably the most dramatic incident I've seen on a racecourse there's been plenty, but this was a really dramatic one, when you got a really bad injury because your horse bolted through a rail and so you came down in front of the crowds. Do you think purely from a horse and rider's point of view, not having the noise and the crowds will make things a bit smoother in terms of horses being a bit less flighty and things like that?
Look, it's every horse is different. It's like every human being, isn't it? We're all different. Look, some horses will go to the Cheltenham Festival. They could be buzzy type of horses. They could be revy type of horses. They'll go to the Cheltenham, and because there's no crowds, they'll relax straight into it. And they'll be very, very happy. Whereas other horses need that a little bit of adrenaline, that a little bit of buzz, the noise and all that, to get their adrenaline up and get the blood running through their veins, to see the best of them. So I think this year, I think there could be a couple of strange results. There could be a couple of different results, and like you say, it's some horses will benefit from not having crowds there, but other horses won't, unfortunately, because they need that. They need the crowds cheering, the roaring to get the adrenaline up. It's a bit like, Charlie, yourself, it's a bit like football, in when the crowds are with you and stuff like that. Really, it gets the blood going, doesn't it? You really feel powerful and invincible, and you know what I mean. So, and whereas obviously when the crowds aren't there, it's a lot harder, isn't it?
Definitely, I said they bring the 5-10% extra energy. Whether they're rooting for my team, rooting for your horse, do you know what I mean? You buzz off what the fans, the spectators bring, don't you? I think everybody does. Everybody buzzes off the spectators, bringing that extra energy. And when you're doing things like that, and you've got people supporting you, or people whatever it is fantastic. It just brings out a lot more stuff in you. When this is obviously different, and we know it's all different now, but do you have, and I do still now, 31 playing football, do you have any rituals and stuff? Do you know what I mean? Before you go out to ride, or every morning, or anything like that? Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't, to be honest with you. I just take every day as it come, really. I've never, it's not really that thing. I just try to get up and do the best I can every day I get up. But like I say, no, nothing that, that I have to do every day. It's, things like that, no.
Any jockeys got any that are a bit, you're a bit of an eye-opener one?
Well, there's a few, but I couldn't let you in on them stories, not on television.
Chaz told us earlier that he puts his right boot on, everything on his right-hand side on first, right shin pad, right boot, right sock, before he puts on his left sock. I'm sure in the wavy there must be a number of jockeys with superstitions, right?
Well, you wouldn't want you probably know, Ali, but you wouldn't want to see what old Harry Cobden puts on.
I'll leave that to everyone. We'll leave that one to everyone's imagination, shall we? Right. So how do you now? Sorry, Al. How is it like easy for you? Do you know to like switch off? We talk about Cheltenham, like we talk about the buzz and the energy that fans bring, and obviously the spectators are obviously not there, but when they are there, when you go away from a big festival meet and you look back on your day, how do you switch off? Or you can't switch off? Do you know what I mean? I play games of football and I can't switch off sometimes. It's impossible. But you've got to go the very next day.
Yeah, it's all really about, especially with Cheltenham. I mean, it's sort of, how do you explain it? I mean, there are 4 days of very, very intense pressure, where your management skills, I suppose, is very, very important in this. And like you say, you've got to be at your very, very best from 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock, but then you've got to slow everything down again, and try and get yourself a good night's sleep, and then again you've got to go the next day. So it's 4 very, very pressurized days. But like I say, I've got a lovely wife and kids and stuff like that, and they're great to come home to. That you can sort of play with them. You can, just break away from the pressures of it for an hour. But like I say, once the kids go to bed and stuff like that, again, I'm straight on my phone or on my iPad and stuff like that, trying to work out the next day's racing and the next day's, positions that I'd like to be in certain races, and how I think a race is going to work out, how it's going to pan out, whether all these different things I kind of go through of my book rides for the next day, and sort of how do you say it? Try and sleep on it, if that makes sense. So I reckon it's a bit like a professional footballer, rugby player, and you kind of try and sleep on it. I'm not saying I go to bed, like I do sleep very, very well, as a lot of people know. I'm a very, very good sleeper, but I would generally, I'd sleep through the night thinking about it, if that makes sense, and I would sort of wake up the next day. But I tell you where I find it really, really, so sort of about 4 or 5 days after the festival, I'm literally mentally I'm shattered, and there, from that point of view, you need a driver then for 3 or 4 weeks just to try and get that calm down, just to try and get some sleep, get some energy back in it, because then obviously, as everyone knows, it's 3 massive days at Aintree as well, at the Grand National meeting. You gotta, so all these festivals and all that, you've got to try and manage it to the best you can. And I suppose, but getting a little bit older, it helps as well.
And you say that obviously Aintree's obviously 3 weeks or whatever it is afterwards, and you're just trying to recover for that. And it's your mindset, I think, isn't it? You prepare so much for them 4 days at Cheltenham, then you're thinking, right, I've almost got 3 weeks of racing in between, but then my mindset has got to be right. Aintree's just around the corner. I've got to be top of my game. Don't get me wrong, every time you go on a horse, you're top of your game. But when you get to them kind of stage, it's next level stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which that's where obviously the recovery. I just need to go back on one thing. That's like me coming home. When you've got a loving, supporting family at home when you come through the door, it makes everything so much easier. Do you know what I mean? You can just de-stress and unwind, and kind of the kids bring it back to all reality, don't they?
They surely do. Yeah, they surely do. It's like you say, they're for me personally, they're, like you say, they're a blessing in disguise. I mean, like you say, you come in the door, the kids want to see you. They they don't really know what's going on a daily basis. They obviously know what we do and stuff like that, but they need plenty of attention and care, and they want to have a bit of fun with their dad and stuff like that as well, because you don't see them all day. A bit like yourself, you don't see you all day, and when you come in, they want to play with you and do some fun things with you. So straight away, racing's at the back of your mind, and it just it's gone for you for a while, isn't it?
Listen, tell the listeners, Daz, because they'll see a lot of that side of things in this excellent documentary, Being a Jockey. It's on the Hub, and they'll be able to get that. I think it really captures everything that we're talking about incredibly well. But with Cheltenham just on the horizon, what I'm sure a lot of listeners won't know is exactly what goes on during a race. And one thing, because there'll be lots of listeners to this that are football fans that may be new to racing and stuff like that. And I'll ask it to both of you, actually, because you're both professional sportsmen. But Daz, is there much chatting during a race at the festival? Say it's a 3-miler. Are you talking to the jockeys about how the race is going, about how your horse is traveling? Can you give us an insight into just what goes on during a race amongst the jockeys?
Well, it's very different. Charlie might say something different, but different jockeys change and sort of with different pressures of big meetings. Like some jockeys that are quiet, generally on a Monday to Friday, and then the weekend comes and they've got big rides or whatever, and all of a sudden they sort of come to life. And then other jockeys that are very, very chatty, during the week and stuff like that, and then they come to good rides and stuff like that, and all of a sudden you don't hear a beat from them. But like in a race, again, it's who you're beside and what you're riding, and how your horses jump and etc. But I must admit, like during the races and stuff, we try have a bit of banter, and you try have a bit of a laugh and a joke. But obviously when it gets down to the business end of it, things slightly change, to put it that way. But you can get a few curses and a few this, that, and in there as well, as the drill yourself. But it's not always plain sailing, put it that way. It's not all fun and games.
Ollie, that is something I've always wondered. Jockeys, they must speak to each other, because on the pitch I'm speaking to the opposition defender.
What are you chatting about though to him?
The rubbish, mate. just hammering their centre forwards, mate. Just trying to get him to switch off for a split second, and then I'm in. I do like talking to them. It gets on their nerves, mate. They hate it.
You would fry me if I was a centre defender. You would fry me.
I have you on here for about an hour and 20 minutes once a week, and I'll fry your brain as it is, mate.
That's enough. Yeah. Daz, who are the? Are there any ones that are particularly like chatty in a race, or anyone's particularly chatting in a weighing room that you know, like when you're at school and you get sat next to someone that just always talks, you go, God, Jesus, I've got to sit next to them again. Is there someone like that?
Sam Twiston Davis.
Yeah,
he's great fun actually. We were fun. I'll tell you a little story. We were at Ludlow the other day, and we were in a novice handicap chase around Ludlow, and Sam rode one for Matt Shepherd. I rode a Jolly for Nicky Henderson, and obviously the fourth last is quite tricky at Ludlow, and so we're all down to start, and we're like, right, we're not moving till we get over this tricky fence. And we're all in agreement. Yeah, we won't move. Get over the fence, and then we can race. And so we were in the race anyway. I was sort of second. Johnny Burke was down the inside. Johnny Burke's thing was crashing fences out of it, and I was like, Johnny, pull it up, and we were having a laugh anyway. And then Sam was on the outside. I can see you, I can hear you, and we were turning into the home straight, and Sam said to me, don't move until we get over this fence. And I was like, well, you're taking me on, get off me, you're taking me on. He said, I haven't moved. And we got over 4 out, and then I promise you now, I could see his front horse's legs moving, and he knew he had obviously got over. He goes, race on. the whole way up the home straight, like me and him were like, having a laugh and a joke with each other, and I was sort of always a sort of a length in front, and all I could hear behind me is, I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna beat you.
Did he beat you?
And he literally came by me, chinned me on the line. Yeah.
Oh no!
That is tremendous.
I gave it absolutely sucks because I didn't want him to beat me, and all I could hear behind me is, "I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you."
That is amazing.
It was great fun, I must admit. But like you say, it's you can have a bit of fun and jokes and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's a very serious game. It's a very serious business. But it's every now and again, it's nice to have just bring back, I suppose, a human side and a bit of fun side to it, isn't it?
Definitely, couldn't agree more.
And speaking about serious and specialness and everything like that, which of your rides do you think next week?
I've got a few nice horses actually. I'm looking forward to riding this year. Caribbean Boy is a horse that I thought an awful lot. He beat Lost in Translation around Newbury. He looked very, very good on his first run. Not Lost in Translation, Fiddler on the Roof, wasn't it? At Newbury, yeah. He looked very, very good. And then he's had 2 runs since, and things haven't really gone his way. He's run in a handicap. I think this is a really, really good horse. I don't think we've seen the best of him. I think he's got a lovely handicap mark for this race. Touchwood, he's a good jumper. He's a good traveller. He stays well. I'm just hoping the ground is going to be nice, good ground for him whenever he runs. I'm schooling Lieutenant Rocco for Nick Mitchell on Friday morning. He runs in the Ultimate. Again, he's got some cracking form behind a couple of our horses, Simon Ear and Isaac Swade's horses in Fusel Raffles and Mezir de Zobo, and he runs in a handicap as well. And I think his handicap mark could be quite decent.
He'll need soft ground, wouldn't he, Daz?
Look, he's good on, like I say, he's good on heavy. He was heavy when I won on him at Foss last, but when he put up a good performance around Wincanton against Mezir de Zobo in that grade 2, and it wasn't that soft then. So look, I think he's better on heavier ground, but I'm hoping with the track that's in it is Cheltenham. He's been around there and stuff like that. I think it's not going to be quick ground, is it? It's not going to be proper good ground. Cheltenham are going to have it, the best ground they're going to have it. It's going to be good to soft, isn't it? So, we've got rain forecast for the rest of the week leading up until Cheltenham. So it's not going to be that, it's not going to be good ground, is it? So, I'm really looking forward to them too, and Fusel.
Would they be your best chances, those two, Caribbean Boy and
I think so, yeah. I think so, yeah.
Happy days. Who do you think wins the Gold Cup?
I must admit, I'm a massive fan of Champ. What he done, I beat him on Scoriel around Newbury on proper good ground, and I promise you now, it surprised me, it amazed me how fast and how well Champ jumped and travelled around Newbury on very, very good ground. And I promise you, if he hadn't have finished, just got up in the RSA last year, where in the last 50 yards, I'd say this horse has got no chance in staying a Gold Cup trip. You know, you'd be thinking Ryanair for that horse all day long. But, you know, very, very few horses have got the ability and the class to do what Champ done. Cater Star obviously done it. He won over 2 miles, 2.5, 3. You know what I mean? He won over all them sort of trips. And what Champ showed me the other day, he could be very, very special. And like you say, he just got up in the RSA last year, so you know stamina is not an issue. But he's got the speed to to put a horse like Scoriel, you know, on his mettle the whole way around there. I was very, very impressed with it.
Daz, on Studs Up each week, as I'm sure you know, we do a Studs Up hat trick where we ask our special guest 3 questions. So you're in the hot seat now. They're very easy questions.
Oh, no chance.
What is Pythagoras' theory? No, that's not one of the questions. Don't panic. Question 1 is
Charlie's gonna help me out. Charlie, give me up the answers, please.
No, it's none of that. No, they're good ones. They are good ones.
They're very simple.
I'll just say I don't know. That's
right. They're just good. It's all about you, mate. It's all about you and what you can thingy.
I don't know it myself.
Yeah, no, trust me, they're simple. Right.
No catching you out. Go on, Al.
Question 1 in the Studs Up hat trick with this Cheltenham Festival special featuring Daryl Jacob is: who is the biggest or has been the biggest influence on your career, Daz?
Look at I've been very, very lucky. I've had a lot of people. You know, obviously the boss Robert and Sally Olner, they've been very good, and obviously the late Kieran Kelly as well. You know, and you know, you can go to say, you know, Simon Munir and Isaac Swade and Anthony Bromley, they've been instrumental in what I've achieved and what I've done. So to pick out one person, I'm sorry, Ali, I couldn't give out one person because I've been very, very lucky.
And again, you see that in the documentary, and you see this wonderful relationship you have with the Alders, but also you keep a picture of Kieran Kelly under your wing mirror. You know what I mean? The in your car, basically.
Flap.
Sorry.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And he sort of travels everywhere with you. And for those that don't know, Kieran tragically passed away in a racing accident a few years ago. But it's so nice and touching that he still very much lives on through what you do. Question 2, Daryl, is: who is the best jockey you've ridden against?
Again, you know, I've been very, very lucky. You know, I was a great admirer when I come over here, and obviously riding for Paul Nicholls. You know, I followed Ruby Walsh an awful lot. You know, and he's a beautiful horseman on top of horse, the way he gets horses jumping. So, you know, I really, really love watching him. But I also loved and admired the dedication that AP had, that where he could just, you know, throw every horse into every fence, and just, you know, what he done and the way he brought racing to a new level is unbelievable. You know, they're two very, very, like you say, two very different riders, but two brilliant people that I've been very, very lucky to ride against.
And finally, what is the most embarrassing moment that's happened to you in your career?
Wouldn't have a clue.
Have there been any shockers? Have you ever had any howlers?
I'd say I've had a fair few now, yeah. Not that I want to go and tell the world to know, but I'd rather keep them shockers to myself, if I'm being honest.
Fair enough.
So basically, Daryl Jacob dodged question 3.
Yeah, he swerved all 3 of them, didn't he?
Yeah,
the one question that you can answer. We asked Henry de Bromhead this because Chaz obviously is a very successful and famous footballer. Actually, in the documentary, couldn't you have gone on to be a professional sportsman in a different field, Daz? Was it rugby or hurling that you were keen on as a youngster?
I love rugby. Obviously, rugby's a big part of my family and stuff like that. My 2 brothers played rugby to a very high standard. You know, I really, really enjoyed my rugby, and, you know, and hurling and Gaelic football as well. I played, you know, to a good standard there as well. So, yeah, look, sport is in the family, and yeah, we somewhere down along the line, put it this way, I was never going to have my head in front of a computer.
Clearly, getting
As
you
you
logged
can
on to
see.
this was hard enough.
No way. I would have never guessed that, mate. I would have never guessed that.
Chaz, did you ever play rugby or any other sports growing up?
Yeah, I played rugby at school, fly half. I used to just bang it, just kick it.
Glory boy, aren't you? Proper
Yeah.
glory
Yeah,
boy. Get the
Well,
point.
that's it. That's what it is. Get the points about me, mate.
Unreal. Magic. Daz, look, thanks so much for joining us. We're just going to wrap up the podcast now with the Studs Up double and the Sky Bet offer. But just to remind everyone, the documentary Daryl Jacob Being a Jockey is on the ITV Hub. I think Sky Bet have done a brilliant job putting it together, but you are an absolute star for doing it. And I think it will, as Charlie says, go a long way to reaching out to new fans, current fans. And I think it's a great thing that you've done, and it's a really enjoyable watch. So top man for doing that, bud.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a million for having me.
No worries, and best of luck next week, of course, at Cheltenham. Caribbean Boy and Lieutenant Rocco, the best chances for Daryl, according to the man himself. Daryl, take care and best of luck next week, mate.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a million.
Cheers, Daryl. Thank you. Cheers.
Okay, so we're getting towards the end of this week's Studs Up, but we have got the Studs Up double to bring you. And thanks to our good friends at Sky Bet, the double is obviously going to revolve around the Cheltenham Festival. And hopefully throughout the course of this episode, you've got plenty of winners to go to town with next week. But Charlie Austin, we need to get 2 winners for the listeners. Who have you gone for, mate?
I have gone for Bob Ollinger. Our guest, Henry de Bromhead, has told me he's going to run in the Ballymore, and that was enough for me to go to the vault. I'm going to the vault. Oh,
love it. I think Bob Ollinger's got a great chance. My selection is Ala Philippe in the Albert Bartlett for local trainer Fergal O'Brien. I think this horse is a very talented horse. He's thrived stepping up in distance, and also he's got a lot of experience, and it's quite a tough race for young horses, the Albert Bartlett. And I think having that experience and number of runs that he's had will stand him in very good stead moving forward to the Cheltenham Festival. I think he's got a great chance, and that is going to pay quite well, that Studs Up double. And you know where to head to it in the specials department on Sky Bet, then head to the Studs Up double. It's in this, as I say, the specials tab in the horse racing markets. So get involved in that. Just to let you know, we've had guests on throughout the course of this series as we've been building up to the Cheltenham Festival. We should just recap who everyone went for, shouldn't we, Chaz? We've got Ali McCoy's went for Royal Pagaille in the Gold Cup. Charlie Adam on episode 2 went for Envoi Allen in Ascaria 10. Jack Court went for Kilcruit in the Bumper. Stan Petrov went for Henry's A Plutard and Kenboy in the Gold Cup. John Joe Shelby went for Kilcruit and Soaring Glory. Ian Dowie went for Honeysuckle. Admittedly, I chose that for him, but anyway, that's his selection. And I think Henry de Bromhead will probably be definitely be cheering Honeysuckle on as well. So that's who the Studs Up dressing room have gone for in the lead up to the Cheltenham Festival. And I guess, Chaz, given racing's been in the news for the wrong reasons recently, I would say, as a racing fan and someone who's worked in it their whole professional life, I don't know what you think, but I don't think there's a better place to showcase everything that's good about the sport.
More than ever, mate. Just forget about, you can't just try and put that side of it to bed now, and it's all about moving forward. And what better place to start, like you say, the Cheltenham Festival, to show to absolutely everybody how great this sport is. Friday, Daryl's bit comes out on Friday about the jockey side, and then the following week it's all about the horses and how the best horses can shine.
Just to let you know about the Sky Bet offer, and it's around the Cheltenham Festival, obviously, and it's a very generous one. So make a note of this. It's money back if you lose on the opening race of the festival, the Sky Bet Supreme Novices Hurdle, £10 maximum refund. My dreaded producer, Rant, tells me I've got to read this out. He makes me do this every week, but here it goes. For those that don't know, it's first bet only and win singles or win part of each way singles only. Free bets and cashed out bets are excluded. Terms and conditions are on the Sky Bet website. You've got to be 18 or over to bet and begambleaware.org. You can find, as I say, the Studs Up double in the specials market on the horse racing section of Sky Bet. Good luck with that. We've recapped the Studs Up squad for Cheltenham. And Chaz, I thought that was utterly fascinating from both Daryl and Henry de Bromhead, and it set me up perfectly for Cheltenham. Are you ready, mate?
I'm buzzing, mate. I'm just going to get my horses in order, ready to go for next week. But they've both put me in the right direction. Hopefully, they've pointed the rest of the listeners. Look, I'm buzzing for the festival, and hopefully, we can all have a few winners.
And you'll obviously be training. You'll be playing certain matches and stuff throughout next week. But will there be much talk in the dressing rooms up and down the country, football dressing rooms, about the festival? Will there?
Yeah. There'll be plenty of messages going around asking who's got the tips and etc. etc. It always goes on this time of year. Everybody just buzzes off it, don't they? Whether they're involved in it full time or whether they're involved in it just for the big meetings. Do you know what I mean? But there'll be plenty of chat going around starting on Monday morning regarding the Cheltenham Festival.
And you know what you reply? You say, lads, you've got to listen to Studs Up. That's where all the winners are.
Couldn't have said it better myself, pal.
Loads of you have been listening, liking, subscribing, and we really appreciate all your support. We started a few weeks ago on this road to Cheltenham, and Cheltenham is here. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in, who's enjoyed the episodes, who's commented, who's rated us, and as I say, who's told all their friends about it. We've had a hell of a time doing it. We'll be back at the week after Cheltenham to recap on the events that we saw from one of the greatest sporting arenas that there is anywhere in the world. And we will recap everything that we've seen, and hopefully we'll be reveling in plenty of winners. Chaz, thank you so much, as always, mate, for your work throughout the course of the series. The series isn't done yet. We've got Cheltenham on the horizon. And as I say, hopefully plenty of winners coming your way. A massive thanks to oddschecker and Sky Bet, who power Studs Up, to all the team who have worked on it. And all I can say to round it all off is enjoy Cheltenham. As a sport, it's a wonderful occasion. And we touched on it a moment ago, but there genuinely is no better place to showcase everything that is wonderful about horse racing. And I hope you enjoy it as much as we all will. Take care and good luck.